Okay, the next little item I want to discuss with you guys is adding and subtracting polynomials. Now this is where you're going to have more than one term, and you're going to be asked to look at it and decide what can I combine together. So, for instance, now you're going to probably see parentheses around these. So maybe I have 4a squared positive 6, and then positive 3a squared negative 2a negative 4, and I want to combine. Now if you look here, there's two terms in here. So we have a binomial, and over here we have a trinomial. Alright, now the parentheses are simply used to group the terms. So don't be multiplying here or anything like that. We have a positive here, that means we're combining. So a lot of times, guys, what I do is I teach kids to just eliminate the parentheses here. They're not being used for anything other than to show I have a grouping of terms, and since they're all going to be combined together, we just don't need them. Now, essentially what you have to remember is you must only combine alike stuff. So I like to underline what I'm going to combine. So I'm going to start with the term with the most power, which in this particular problem is power 2, or squares. I'm going to look all the way through here. Oh, here we go. And I've got something to combine with. Now when you combine, guys, you are looking at the coefficients. The number in front tells you how many you have of whatever you have. So you look at that, you say I've got 4 of them and I've got 3 of them. Well, I've got 7 of them. Well, what are them? Well, they're a squareds. Now in the last video we were adding the exponents. You're not multiplying your terms. You're just collecting how many of them you have. So they cannot change. In other words, if I had 4 Snicker bars and 3 Snicker bars, it's 7 Snicker bars. They don't turn into Reese's peanut butter cups or something. So we got to just be smart with that. We're just combining, so you're looking at the coefficients. Now, after power 2 on a would be power 1. So I'm looking, okay, here is a term right here with just a's, and that's going to come next. There are no other a terms to combine with. Okay, the last thing you're looking for with polynomials, you guys, when you're combining them are what are the constants. Now the constants are just numbers by themselves. So this is kind of like the caboose on the train. So positive 6, negative 4, that would be positive 2. And there we go. That would be my trinomial answer. Excuse me. Now, let's look at one more here. And maybe your stuff is kind of jumbled around. So maybe I have 7, negative 2a, positive a cubed, and then plus negative a squared, negative 4a, negative 3, and I want to combine them. Excuse me again. Now again, you got to look at the terms with the most power. So I look at this. Again, the parentheses are meaningless. They can be not. You could rewrite the problem without even having them in there, and then look for alike terms to combine. So I'm starting with a cubes. Are there any other a cubes? Nope. So that's the head of the train, so to speak. So one thing you can do is, after you've worked with a term, you can kind of cross it out of there, just to keep track of what's left and what's already been accounted for. Next would be a squareds. There's one right there. So negative a squared. And then we're looking at, let's see, a's. All right, now here I actually got some combining I can do. So negative 2a and negative 4a. Again, you have to focus on the coefficients. That would be how many of them? I hope you said negative 6. And you are correct. Okay, get rid of those little guys. And then 7, negative 3 is positive 4. So, there we go. Now the only other thing I'll make mention of here is it says subtracting as well. So let's try one of those. So let's take let's say 2x squared, negative 3x, negative 8, and then negative or minus x squared, positive 4x, negative 3. Okay? Now here's the thing. We got to remember, I really don't want you thinking minus here. Yeah, we're subtracting. Yes, this is a negative sign, but remember what a negative means. If you have a negative in front of parentheses, I really want you thinking opposite of. Opposite of. And then you simply need to take the opposite of whatever is behind here. And I like to use arrows because I'm distributing this negative throughout the whole second trinomial. I want the opposite of it. And honestly, you guys, when you take the opposite of something, all you're really doing is changing the signs of every term. So there's nothing going on in the first term. So this stays as 2x squared, negative 3x, negative 8. I don't really need this front parentheses anymore. There was nothing going on there. But this back one, now I want to say opposite of x squared. Well, that would be negative x squared. Opposite of positive 4x, which would be negative 4x. And then opposite of negative 3, which is positive 3. Okay, now it's time to combine. So looking at the terms, I got x squareds. So 2x squared take away at x squared would be x squared. I go next to the x's. Looks like I have negative 3x, negative 4x. Should be negative 7x. And lastly and leastly are our constants. I'm going to triple underline them. So negative 8, positive 3, tug of war would be negative 5. Alright, you guys, now there's some exposure to adding or subtracting polynomials. A lot of times they'll have parentheses around them, but if there's a sign in between and you're adding or subtracting, get rid of the parentheses. If there's a minus in front, make sure you take the opposite of the second polynomial before you do your combining. Alright guys, there is a start on adding and subtracting polynomials.